Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Racing Productions MC and producer. And joining me today is Terence Cudney. Welcome.
Hi there, Krylios. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. How are you?
Doing good.
Awesome. Well, it is great to have you here with us. And I want to just start this off by having you introduce yourself to our viewers and give us a little bit about your background and experience.
Sure. So my name's Terence Cudney. This is my first time running for office. I'm running for state senate in the first Essex and Middlesex District, which is on the North Shore of Massachusetts. Like I say, I'm a first-time candidate for public office. I've never run before, so I'm a little new to domestic politics and frankly to activism. But my background is, I'll be brief. So I was laid off from my tech startup job in 2018, right after sort of delivering a major product for my team. And as with startups, you run out of runway, or the situation changes, and suddenly you make difficult decisions with personnel. And so I was on the chopping block basically, and so that gave me an opportunity to kind of think through my next steps. It was a bit of a difficult time, if I'm being honest, financially, that sort of thing. And so I made the difficult decision to move back with my partner to her hometown, Gloucester, Massachusetts. I was living in Somerville, Boston area at the time, and was still, struggling, kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. Job market was hard. And so I ended up deciding to go back to waiting tables for the first time in 7 years, as many of us have had to do, in difficult times. And so I did that. So I started waiting tables, and then a couple months later, COVID happened. And so we basically, I went from waiting tables to being a delivery driver for the restaurant. And again, it sort of gave me another sort of opportunity for reflection, an opportunity to think through what I could do next. And that's where, kind of the picture started to come into clear focus for me, that I could run for public office. I might be able to be of service. My academic background is in international studies. I've been interested in foreign policy for a long time, but the fact is, we need help at home too. And so I looked at the landscape, and state senate felt like a good place to look. And I can talk more about my opponent and my decision for that race if you'd like.
Actually, I would like that. I'd love to know the decision, why you've chosen, especially, this cycle to run, and what's gotten you really fired up.
Sure. So I chose state senate in part because, my opponent has been in office for a long time. He's been in office for about 27 years. He's also run unopposed, for 17 of those years. And so he's been in office a while. He's a moderate Republican in one of the bluest states in the country. And so I saw an opportunity to kind of, jump in and, affect state policy. There's a lot of things that can be done at the state level that I think, the average person doesn't really realize. A lot of us don't know who our state senator or state rep is. So I started to kind of, look into it. What would this entail? What could I do policy wise? And started developing my platform. And as for why this cycle, frankly, why not now, right? This feels like a great opportunity. It worked out kind of with where I was in my life to take a step back. My partner is basically the main breadwinner for the household right now. And I'd saved up some money, saved up my stimulus checks, that sort of thing, so I could focus full time on running. And so that's why I'm running this cycle.
Awesome. I'd love to get into, some of those issues that you'd like to tackle if elected.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll highlight a couple, and I can go into detail. So top issues, I'll give you the headline is climate change, healthcare and justice through affordability of essentials like housing and education. A term that a lot of people don't know, but I think has got increasing relevancy, economic democracy and wealth disparity. and something that I like to call real democracy, which is basically increasing the amount of democracy in our political system and making our voting and election system more democratic as well. So I can go into those a little bit if you like in detail.
Yeah, sure. If you could just touch on that, just to explain for anyone who's watching who may not be, as clear on this.
So you want me to go into the real democracy thing in particular? Okay, great. So in particular, we have a first past the post voting system in the US and in the state of Massachusetts, primarily speaking. So what that means is it's not a majoritarian system, it's a plurality system. So you're not necessarily always electing, especially when there's more than two candidates on the ballot, you're not always electing the choice that most broadly reflects voter preference, right? And so one of the things I advocate for is a top two ranked choice or star voting primary.
Yeah.
And those are some complicated kind of systems that we could probably spend the rest of our time together talking about.
If they've watched this channel enough, they've probably heard about ranked choice voting. But
great.
So that's something we've discussed on here before. So you can touch on it a little bit if you want to, just to clarify. But
no, that's okay. I think if people get it, I don't want to, go too much into detail and bore anyone. But aside from that, I also think that we're living in a time where our democracy, frankly, is, backsliding. We're seeing, that a lot of people talk about January 6th. The way I look back on January 6th is that 147 Republicans went back into the chambers after the riot happened and voted to overturn elections in two states. I believe it was Arizona and Pennsylvania, I want to say. It was a second state as well. And in choosing to do that, they degraded our democracy a little further. And so I think we need to start looking more at the local and regional level about ways we can bolster our democracy. And so one of the things I talk about is building a Northeastern Regional Alliance for Democracy and Governance. And in particular, building regional coalitions around particular policies that are sort of stagnating at the federal level. Like some of those issues I talked about earlier, like universal health care, like climate change, like affordable housing, like economic democracy, like wealth disparity. I could go on and on. These are issues that we could. These are issues
and
that we could tackle.
I've actually never heard that before, so that's actually pretty cool. A Northeast Alliance.
Yeah, that's an original. That's a Terence Cudney original for you there. I like to think about policy coming from a sort of software entrepreneurship background. I like to think of policy as through the lens of the idea that democracy is really like the operating system for our civilization. And so building our democracy is really an innovation problem. It's how do we make the system more democratic? And that's how I saw my way from, entrepreneurship to domestic politics.
Awesome. All right, let me ask you, what makes you the best choice for voters this election season?
Yeah, so as I alluded to before, the incumbent that I'm running against is a moderate Republican in one of the deepest blue states in the country. And he's been in office for a good long time, right? And I think there's an opportunity for change. And I think there's something very unique about our district as I see it, that it's willing to elect a Republican. To me, that means that it's willing to think sort of deeply about the issues and kind of make a very personal decision about who they go in to elect on election day. And I think they're ready for a change. I think they're ready for some new thinking and some innovative thinking. And I think they're also ready for a substantive, frankly, opposition to what's going on in state government. I think state government in Massachusetts has very much stagnated with a supermajority of Democrats. The fact is power corrupts regardless of what party you belong to. And I'm not sure if I mentioned I'm running as an independent. I'm running outside of the party duopoly, and think there's a real opportunity to bring an opposition that has some real policy behind it that can really motivate people anew in a way that they might not have been before. And so, yeah, I'd like to think that that makes me a good candidate to supplant Bruce Tarr.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Terence, let everyone know when voting begins in Massachusetts for state senate.
Yeah, so the election day is the same day as the midterms. It's November 8th. I believe at the current stage, we have not, we basically let lapse the sort of emergency COVID voting protocols that allowed us to do what's called no excuse absentee mail voting, basically. Yeah. And so as a result, as it currently stands, your time to vote is election day. And I'll be pushing from the outside to reinstate, some of those no excuse mail voting, because I think it's of incredible importance, especially as we look to, the future of COVID and the possibility of new variants. We've seen so many kind of roll through our country. And so we need to be forward thinking in terms of our voting policy. And that goes back to my beliefs about building a burgeoning, increasing our democracy. But suffice it to say, yeah, it's down to one day, yes, where it used to be a lot more.
Hopefully, everyone is registered to vote. If you're not yet registered to vote, please, you can go to headcount.org to check your voter status. You can pledge to vote, register to vote before the elections come. Terence, how can people find out more about you, find out more about your campaign, support, donate, follow, how can they go ahead and do that?
Sure. So my website is cudney4ma.com. So that's CUDNEY, the number 4ma.com. As you can see on the screen there, I'm on most social media, Twitter, Facebook, also Instagram at Cudney4ma. And my donor platform is DonorBox. So it's donorbox.org / that little snippet of text there, Cudney4ma, CUDNEY, number 4ma.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Terence, for joining me today. It has been such a pleasure to get to talk with you, and I wish you best of luck on your campaign. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Krylios. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
Certainly. To our viewers who are watching, please, you can go ahead and follow Team Racine Productions on all forms of social media at Team Racine. Like, comment, and subscribe. But most of all, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone.